The relationship between genomes and epigenomes reveals how cells with identical DNA develop different functions. Whereas the genome in each cell contains a complete DNA sequence, the epigenome consists of chemical compounds that determine which traits in the sequence will be expressed. Well, let's first figure out how many dependent and independent clauses we may have. To do that, we need to determine where the subject and verbs are. So we have relationship as a subject, and after that we have a prepositional phrase that you will not find subject or verb between genome and epigenome reveals. So the bare bone sentence will be read as relationship reveals how cells with identical DNA develop. Okay, so we have a dependent clause that are still part of the main sentence reveals what? How cells, the whole thing is the object here. How cells, I'm gonna say, yeah, cells develop. Yeah, how cells with identical DNA develop different functions. And then we have whereas the genome in each cell contains a complete DNA sequence. So whereas is a subordinating conjunction that marks the dependent clause. So that will be dependent clause, just like we have dependent clause here. Whereas the genomes in each, okay, genome will be the singular subject here, and then we have a singular verb contains. Genome in each cell contains a complete DNA sequence. Now we have an independent clause. The epigenome consists. So I'm going to use a red marker. Subject and verb and subject and verb consists of chemical compounds that determine which traits in the sequence will be expressed. Okay, so that these red parts are the main clauses. If you want to combine two main clauses, you can only do several ways. Make a brand new sentence, make a semicolon, or put a period. Put a coordinate conjunction, and prior to that you need a comma. Now there's I didn't really mention this much. Another way you can combine is a colon. If you want to give a further explanation or clarification, or if it's basically a single item that you want to emphasize, yeah, that you also use a colon. And the only way we can solve it is D. Because the other answer choices create either run-on or other grammatical problems. So let's take a look. Choice A, we say functions. Okay, subject relationship reveals how, and then you just simply say whereas the genome in each cell, there's not even a boundary here. There's not comma. We're not separating two separate clauses. Or yeah, so choice A cannot be the answer. Choice B is a comma splice. It did correctly separate the boundaries between two clauses, but if you have two independent clauses, you cannot just put a comma. You need a coordinate conjunction, so it's missing that. Choice C, instead of putting a comma before end, it put it at the end of the word end. You will not see that. You will not see that. There are some cases this might be okay, especially when you have a supplementary phrase that happen to come right after end and happen to be part of the list of items, but that's not being used here. Choice D, okay. So you mentioned that relationship reveals how cells develop, colon, and we make a specific detail, or we make a further clarification of the difference. Okay, remember this is about we show how they develop different. Okay, how cells with identical DNA develop different functions, and in the next sentence we show that difference with the transitional word whereas, which is the signal for hey, here's something, there's another one. So whereas a genome, the epigenome consists. Okay, we have two different things that have different functions. So the colon correctly is placed to give that further explanation.